Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. I want to talk this evening about our position, our way of holding our mind, our understanding in context of time, the past, present, and future. And in Buddhist teaching, there's I would say, a kind of a tension, a sort of complementary opposite ways of approaching time. On the one hand, we have a lot of emphasis on the present moment, and sati is often described as being in the present moment, which is not entirely wrong, but it's not the whole story. The word sati is commonly translated as mindfulness, and it does have this aspect of being present with what's ever the content of consciousness at this moment, being fully present. But there's another side to it. The Sanskrit cognate for sati is smrti, which actually directly means memory. And sati does have some connection to memory. Some of the older books, translations, would use recollectedness, which is kind of a mouthful, but I think it maybe comes closer to the original meaning. It's not the same as memory. It's not like living in the memories, but it means recollecting or remembering to be present, so that there's a context to the present moment. In the Pali texts, when someone is being praised for being mindful, which is satimant, one with sati, it often uses the phrase, he is satimant, he remembers easily that which was said and done long ago. And if someone, as in the case of very advanced beings like the Bodhisattva, if they're reborn in a new existence with their memory of their past lives, that's called being reborn satimant. There's unbroken mindfulness. And one of the traditional ways, this is something that's not unknown to the Thai tradition, but it's more normally associated with Zen, a way of testing a student's mindfulness. When he goes to see the teacher will ask him, which side of the door did you put your shoes on before you came in? There's also in Abhidhamma the concept of registration consciousness, which is tadaramana. Part of the cognitive process, when you are aware of an object, one of the final stages of cognizing an object is to register it. And that only happens if you're completely mindful. With a scattered or incomplete mindfulness, then the process terminates before it reaches tadaramana. And what it means when it reaches registration consciousness, it means that that object has been duly noted and seen, and then it's accessible later to memory. It's been registered. So one very small practical application of this is if you find yourself always losing your car keys or your pen or so, where did I put that? The trick is when you put it down, to be very mindful as you put it down. Then you don't have to go walking around remembering where you put it, or make a note, or make a big deal of it. But at that moment when you put it down, you're mindful, then you can forget all about it until you need it again, and then it'll come easily back to your consciousness. So we can't divorce the present moment from the context of past and future, and this recollecting to be present. The present moment is important in that it's really, in the last analysis, it's the only one we have. We have this present moment. There's a Tibetan teaching on the 3 times that says the past is unreal because it has ceased to exist. The future is unreal because it is not yet manifest. And the present is unreal because it cannot be fixed. As soon as you put your mind on the present moment, it's already slipped into the past. It's also in the present moment has this relationship of context, that what we experience in the present moment is a result of all the accumulation of the causes in the past, including a very important stream of our karma that we've made. This presents to present moment consciousness a result of all these past causes, but is experienced in this moment a singular event. And then at this moment we're also free. It's also the only moment in which we're free to choose. And we have volition, and we make karma in the present moment. So then that will determine future moments. So all the causes of the past converge onto the present moment, and all the events of the future fan out from it. It's also another aspect of this, that the creation of a self, an illusory self, an ego position, an atta, only occurs in reference to the past and future. In the present moment, there's no room for that. There's just consciousness and an object arising to consciousness. No, it's pristinely simple. If we reference a self, then it's either in reference to the past. If someone asks you who you are, you're likely to tell them your life story, where you were born, where you went to school, where you've worked. Your history, your story is the creation of a self from all these events, which, although they were causes for the present, none of them are currently real. Or there's the projection into the future. We project into the future either positively with hopes and plans and ambitions, or negatively with fears and anxieties. And we create a self-structure that way. But in the present moment, there's just this experience here and now. So when we're meditating, it's very important to maintain the mind in the present moment. When the mind wanders off, it's wandering into the past, into memory, or into the future, into speculation or anxiety. But in the present moment, it's just here and now, what is presented to this consciousness at this moment. So there's the very special place and the very great importance attached to the present moment. And we've already seen that it exists within a context of cause and effect streaming from past to future. But there's also another aspect to time which I would call taking the long view, or the big picture. This is also something that should not be neglected. We can get very caught up and tied up in our current situation or the current drama of the moment, and it can all seem very, very important. But the reality is that samsara is a continuous stream stretching into the infinite past and into the infinite future. And we're only at one point in this journey. But there's multiple unknown number of lifetimes behind us and ahead of us. And the Buddha said it's fruitless to speculate and concern yourself overly with past lives, thinking, where was I in the past? Who was I? What did I do? What did I say? This is fruitless for a couple of reasons. One is that there's nothing you can do about it. Whatever happened in the past is done and cannot be changed, and that applies to events of this life too. There's no value in overly obsessing with the past. What's been done in the past is done, and it cannot be changed, and it's no longer actually real, although it acts as a causal factor for determining the present moment. Where we are right now is a result of the past, of this life and of previous lifetimes, that has converged into this situation we're at now. Going forward, situating into the future, is more important, that we are always cognizant of the karma that we're making, which will determine our future existence, and laying good seeds. A good contemplation from time to time is to imagine this life currently that you're living as a past life. What will be the heritage of these experiences and these actions and these words and deeds of mine for a future existence? What is most important in this life? Where have we bent our intention and our consciousness? What are we kind of moving towards? So balancing these two sort of approaches to time, the present moment and the big picture, I like to think of it with the image or the metaphor of going for a hike in rough country. If you're hiking in the woods or the mountains, you mostly have to pay attention to looking down to look at the ground ahead of your feet, so you don't stumble on roots or put your foot in a crevasse or something. That has to be the main theme of your intention. But if that's all you do, then you'll endlessly wander in circles. You have to, every now and again, stop and look up at the sky and take note of the position of the sun and take your bearings. You have to situate yourself in the greater context so that your movements are not only careful and mindful, but they're also directed. They have a direction, a goal. They're progressive in moving you into where you want to go, and not just carefully and mindfully walking in a circle. And consciousness only really exists in the present moment. We only have this present moment. Everything else is in some degree delusory. It's either a memory, which is just a phantom of what has been, what was real at one moment in the past, or it's even more fantastic, phantasm of the future, which is completely unknown and unfixed. There's some meditation advice that I first come across this in reading Buddhadasa, and I think it's quite sound. It says, when your mind wanders off and you're meditating, your mind wanders off. It's actually different if it wanders to the past or to the future. If it wanders to the past and you're dwelling in memory, then you haven't completely broken the focus and the attention of the meditation. It's just you're directing it at a wrong object. Because the past, even though it's no longer real, it's fixed. It has that characteristic. It's unchanged, unchangeable. So if that happens, you bring it back to the present moment and to the object. You can be more gentle. You're not really breaking the stream of the meditation. But if it wanders off into the future, he only says the future, but I would also include like wild fantasies, unreal imaginations. If the mind wanders off in that direction, it's completely broken the stream of concentration. It's no longer focused because it's now in a realm of completely unfixed, where anything goes. So you have to be a bit more forceful in reestablishing the meditation, not just directing it to the correct object, but actually starting again and reestablishing it. So there is that difference between past and future. And we should also be aware always that time is passing. That every breath we take is bringing us one breath closer to death. That death is always a reality that's waiting for us and it's inescapable. So that the time we have to use is precious. It's limited. It's not a renewable resource. It's a limited quality. We have this human birth and this opportunity, and it's limited. It has a expiration date. So this too is an aspect of time, contemplating impermanence and our own fragility and mortality. The Buddha once asked a group of monks, he said, how do you contemplate impermanence? And one of the monks said, I always bring to mind when I get up in the morning that I don't know for sure. This might be my last day on earth and I should make the best of it. And the Buddha said, oh, you're nowhere close. And he asked the next monk and he said, when I sit down to do an hour's meditation, I think this might be my last opportunity before I die. And the Buddha said, well, that's better, but you're still not there. And the third monk says, when I breathe in, I think I may not live to breathe out. And when I breathe out, I think I may not live to breathe in. And the Buddha said, yeah, that's it. That's the attitude you should hold. Not that you're consciously thinking that all the time, but that you have that awareness that the amount of time you have left is unknown. All you know is that it is limited, but you don't know how long you've got. And you really don't even know when you breathe in if you're going to breathe out again. So if that contemplation is made real to you, that in the first instance it should give you a sense of samvega, which is the importance of what you're doing. You don't waste time. And also that you should be considering the preparations you're making for your next life. I think I'll leave you with one more reflection on time, which is of a bit more out there metaphysical sort of level of thought. This is the view of time in the Sarvastivada school, which is an ancient Indian school of Buddhism that's no longer existent, but they've left us quite a bit of their literature. And the name of the school is All Exists, because it was their particular doctrine that past, present, and future are all existent and all real. And the way I understand it, the idea is that consciousness or chitta exists in this moment, but this moment is a singular moment. It's the only moment that's real. And all the other events of the universe, they're moving backwards in time from the future into the past, crossing this stationary chitta, which is in the present. And we experience the events for that moment when they cross from their gestation in this field of possibility of the future. Then they come into existence for one moment as they pass the screen of consciousness, then they fall away into the past. So this was a way that some of the ancient Indian Buddhists thought about time. Probably a more common way of thinking of time is that we think of our consciousness as moving forward through time. But if you think about it enough, there's really, those two ideas don't really contradict each other. It just depends on your perspective. If you're looking at it from the outside, it looks like consciousness is moving forward. But if you're situated in the present moment, it looks like everything else is moving backward. So I'll leave you with that, and that'll be the few reflections on the nature of time.